Hi, in this video I want to have a look at guitar tab and show you how to play it. Now you're probably all familiar with guitar tab because it now seems to be the standard way for writing guitar music, but if you aren't, I thought I'd make this short video and give you a few pointers about it. So what is it? Well, tab or tablature, to give it its full name, but most people just call it tab, is a type of musical score. That means it's a way of telling you the notes that you must play in a piece of music. Now, most people are probably familiar with standard notation. It's certainly what I was taught at school. That's where you have the lines on your stave, it has the clef symbol telling you which clef to play it in, and then the notes are put onto the stave telling you which notes to play. So that's pretty much seen now as the standard way of writing music. But tablature is another form of writing music, a different type of musical score, and it's much more popular when playing guitar and playing stringed instruments. Most people seem to think that tab, is a relatively new thing, but it's not. It originated in the Middle Ages as a way of writing music, especially for stringed instruments, but it's just become extremely popular nowadays as the popularity of the guitar's risen, because it's quite a good way for writing music for stringed instruments. Okay, so like I said, most of you will be familiar with standard notation, because that's, probably what you were taught at school, because it's probably the most versatile type of musical score, standard notation. But what is the difference between standard notation and tab? Well, the difference between them is that standard notation tells you the specific note or pitch to play. So when you see a note put on the stave on standard notation, it will tell you explicitly the note to play. So in this example here, it's the treble clef, it's in common time, and the note is on the bottom line. That means you play E. You play the note of E when you see that symbol. In tab, it's different. Tab tells you where to play the note, not the specific note you're playing. So if you take this guitar and say it tells me to fret 3 on the lowest string here, I play fret 3 on the lowest string here. That's all I do. I just play fret 3 on the lowest string regardless of the tuning. It isn't telling me to play a specific note. In this case, the specific note I played is a G because it's in standard tuning. But that's the real difference between standard notation and tab, is that standard notation tells you the pitch that you're playing, tab tells you where to play a note, but doesn't tell you the pitch. Okay, to show it better, what I'll do is I will run through a few examples and show you the tab on screen and play a few notes and just give you an idea of how you actually use this. Okay, now I want to give you some examples and show you how to read, interpret and play this tab. Now, like I said, standard notation tells you the pitches that you're going to play. It has the horizontal lines running across the notes on it, and that tells you the pitch of the note that you have to play. And although tab looks similar, it's markedly different. Okay, it still has the horizontal lines running across, but these aren't relating to pitches. What these are relating to is the actual strings of the instrument. So for a standard 6-string guitar like this, when you see tab written for it, there will be 6 horizontal lines, and that represents the 6 strings of the instrument. So the lowest line you see in the tab is the lowest string of the guitar. So I've got a guitar in standard tuning here. So the bottom line of the tab would be this string. Here, the top line of the tab would be the highest string. Here. So the best way to see tab is almost like a visual representation of the strings of the instrument. Now, On these lines, what are placed are numbers, not the usual symbols like you see in notation. And what the numbers do is directly relate to which fret you're going to be playing. So basically, what you have is a string with a number, and that means play that string at that fret at that specific time. So, you know, just to use single notes just now, so if you see, say, like in this example, 3, 2, 0 on the lowest line, that means on the lowest string you play 3, 2, and 0 is open, like that. If it was on the top line, like this, it would mean play it on the highest string of the guitar, like this. So again, 3, 2, 0 on the top line means play 3, 2, 0 on the highest string. Like so, and it really is as simple as that. And just like standard notation, what you're doing is you're reading the tab from the left of the score to the right of the score. So the note to the left gets played before you play the note to the right. So, you know, you see the notes running in sequence, that's the order that you play them in. So it really is that simple. It tells you directly the fret to play and directly the string you have to play it on. Now, that was using single notes. On tab, if you see two notes or two numbers sitting above each other, that means play them together. So for instance, you know, if I've got, say, 3 and 3 sitting like this, you just play both of them on 3 together. Like so. So, like I said, you read it left to right, so if notes are placed above each other, that means you play them together. And you'll see this a lot for chords. So if I take, say, a C chord like this, you'll see it written out in the tab here. You've got 3 on the A string, 2 on the D string, and fret 1 on the B string here, and then you play these 5 strings right through together. And that gives you a C chord. So tab really is that simple. It's just a line of numbers that tell you the direct frets to fret and which string to do it on, and that forms the music. So if you get some tab out and have a look at it and just play through it, you'll see that this is actually a very easy way to represent music to play on the guitar. So why do we use tab, and why has it become the most popular way of writing guitar music out there? Well, the reason is simple. It's because it's easy and quick to read. If you take standard notation, although within it has all the information you need to play the notes on a guitar, you have to interpret what you're looking at. So if you've got a note on the stave in standard notation, first you have to know what that note is. Then what you have to know is what the tune of the guitar is. Then you have to get to the specific string, and then you've got to find out what the specific note is. So, you know, you've got to go through this circuitous process to find out which fret you're going to be pressing down and which string you're going to be playing. To get that note, with tab, it's just direct. It just says, play this fret on this string now. And it's that simple. And that's why it's become so popular, because it is so quick and easy to read. The downside of it is you don't really know what note you're playing. I mean, obviously, if you learn the notes on the guitar, you know what note you're playing. But ultimately, it's just telling you to play a fret on a string, and that's it. It's not explicitly telling you any notes to play. An example of this is if I take this guitar, it's in standard tuning. So if the tab tells me to play fret 3 on the lowest string here, I just play fret 3 on the lowest string. I don't know what note that is, but I'd realise it's in standard tuning, so the lowest string's in E, so it'd be E, F, F sharp, G. So that's a G I'm playing. Now if I take a different guitar here, and this one's in a way out tune. It's actually open D tune and tuned down 3/2 steps. Now, the tab will read the same. It'll just say play fret 3 on the lowest string here, but as you can hear, it's a much different note. And what I have to do is say, well, it's the lowest string, it's in this tuning where the lowest string's a B, so that would be B, C, C sharp, D. So that would be a D I was playing here. Yet, in the tab, it's representing exactly the same as how I would play that G note on a standard tuned guitar, and that's the real downside of tab. It isn't explicitly telling you the notes that you have to play, you have to work it out. And that can make things trickier if you're writing music. I mean, if you're in a specific key and you want to find notes on a specific scale, tab isn't going to explicitly tell you those notes like musical notation would. But if you're just wanting to play a piece of music, you have an idea how that piece of music sounds, you know the tune of the guitar, tab is a very quick and easy way to learn it and read along with the music, and really that's why it's so popular. Okay, although the primary part of tab is just telling you which frets to play on which strings, there's a whole load of other symbols that come with it that can be added onto the tab to tell you different things to do. And these are primarily related to playing a stringed instrument like the guitar. So you'll see symbols telling you to do slides or bends or things like that. Now, I don't want to go through every symbol that you can add onto the tab because there are just loads of them. But there are a couple I want to have a look at, a couple that may be quite important when playing the guitar. The first thing I want to have a look at is timing. Now, the thing about tab is it's telling you exactly where to play these notes, but it isn't telling you the note duration within the actual tab itself. So what you need is you need something bolted on to tell you that. Now, there are a few ways this can be done. Often, if you see tab music written, you will have the musical notation above it, the standard notation above it, and the notes in standard notation will tell you the timing. So if you've got the standard notation written above it, it will tell you all the timing at each individual note, it'll tell you the rest periods and such like. So that's one way of getting the timing. In tab, if you don't have the notation, you will see the timing written either above or below it in a variety of different ways. Sometimes you will just see lines and lines with little dashes at the top, and what these are to do is to represent the time durations that you would see in standard notation. Sometimes in very basic tabs you will just see it written as a letter, say Q, underneath it to represent a quarter note. And this is one of the downsides of tab. The main tab itself does not show any timing like standard notation does, so you have to have something bolted on to help you with the timing. I mean, if you know the piece of music you're playing, you know you're playing a popular song and you know the song off by heart and you just want to know which frets and strings to play on the guitar, you probably don't need the timing. But if you're playing something you haven't played before, you need the timing. You won't be able to play it properly with the timing, and you don't get that from just the basic tab lines. So one thing you will have to look out for is timing symbols. Like I said, it's better if the notation's just written above it because that has all the timings locked into it. Failing that, you will see the timings written by using different forms of symbol. Like I said, sometimes slashes to represent the notation note durations, or sometimes even just letters telling you the duration of the note. But just be mindful that you still need the timings when playing tab. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is fingerings. Now, these often aren't put on tab, and they're not a necessary addition to the tab, but they can be very useful, especially if you're playing a complicated piece of music. And what they are is numbers that are placed above the tab telling you which fingers to use on your fretting hand to play each specific note. So you could see the numbers 1 to 4 written, and what these numbers represent are the specific fingers of your fretting hand. So number 1 is your index finger, number 2 is your middle finger, number 3 is your ring finger, and number 4 is your pinky. And if you see these numbers written above the tab, that means it's preferred that if you use that specific finger for making the note and fretting that note. Like I said, it's maybe not that common, but it is a very handy addition, because often, you know, if you've got a piece of music that has some wide stretches or complicated chords where you've got to put down 4 fingers, you can have a bit of head scratching working out what's the best way to do it. And these fingerings will explicitly tell you what are the best fingerings and what are the best fingers to use for each note. In addition to this, you might also see indications for the right hand, and that's what fingers to use to pick the strings. You'll only see this in pieces of fingerstyle music, and it's very uncommon, but again, it can be very helpful if you've got a tricky passage. And again, what this will be represented with is usually letters to tell you which fingers to use. So the letters you're likely to see can vary a bit when it's showing you which fingers to use for picking the strings, but usually what you'll see is, for your thumb, if you're instructed to pick with your thumb, it'll usually be represented by a P, meaning pulgar for the thumb, or a T, meaning thumb. Your index finger will be represented by an I, middle finger represented by an M, and ring finger represented by an A. And chances are you will not be using your pinky to pick in fingerstyle music, so you wouldn't have one for that. So again, occasionally if you have a tricky passage, it may add these letters in, and they are just letters telling you what are the best fingers to pick the strings with. However, often when I've seen it represented, it will actually put it in text below and just say, you know, for bar so-and-so, or for specific notes, use these fingers. It really depends on who's writing the tab. And I think this is one thing you start to notice about tab. Yes, there are a lot of standard symbols, but in addition, there's a lot of, how shall we say, people just making up their own symbols and ways of playing things, and how that's represented in the tab. Usually if it's good, it will actually explicitly tell you in text what it's wanting you to do. But certainly the two I've looked at, showing you the timings and showing you the fingerings, are very handy additions to the tab to help you play the music. Like I said, I don't want to go into any more of the symbols. I'll pick up different symbols in different videos when I see the need to use them. But the best thing you can do now is get a chunk of tab music. There's absolutely tons of it on the internet. You go into any of the guitar tab sites and you'll just find tens, hundreds of thousands of pieces of tab to play. Have a look at it, play it on your guitar, and you'll see just how easy this form of musical score is to play on the guitar. Thanks for watching.